Have you ever wondered why some people or even yourself could focus intensely on something enjoyable but struggle to stay consistent on important things like routines, studies, or exercise? Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD, is a behavioral and neurodevelopmental disorder, often characterized by persistent patterns of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity that interfere with daily functioning. Within recent years, the prevalence of this disorder has been on an upward trajectory. According to the APS, in Australia, treatment has increased sixfold since 2017. In the United States, the CDC reports an estimated 7 million children aged 3 to 17, about 11.4%, had been diagnosed with ADHD by 2022. That was about 1 million more children than in 2016. So we know that ADHD largely affects attention and focus, which we know markedly influences daily functioning and the ability to perform important tasks, and is becoming a bigger issue, globally increasing in prevalence by a significant margin. In order to understand this condition, treat people with it, and help them, we must ask the question, how does ADHD affect attention and focus? The definition of attention, according to Lindsay and colleagues, is the cognitive process of selectively directing mental resources toward relevant information while ignoring distractions. Focus refers to the ability to sustain attention on a specific task or stimulus over time. To understand how these are affected, the neurological mechanisms of executive functioning that drive attention and focus must be examined. Executive functions are like the brain's control center and help with planning, focus, attention, and distractions. The prefrontal cortex is a region of the brain and is fundamentally involved with this process. Its function centers around attention regulation, decision-making, impulse control, memory, and more. That being said, the efficiency of these executive functioning systems is heavily influenced by dopamine, a neurotransmitter involved in reward, motivation, reinforcement, and attention regulation, known by many as the brain's reward chemical. Dopamine pathways project into the prefrontal cortex and help regulate its ability to sustain focus, prioritize relevant information, and filter distractions. However, in individuals with ADHD, research suggests these neurological and neurochemical systems function differently. Studies indicate that dopamine signaling pathways connected to the prefrontal cortex may be less efficient or differently regulated compared to neurotypical individuals. As a result, the brain can struggle to consistently regulate attention, sustain focus, and filter distractions effectively. ADHD is therefore not simply an inability to focus, but rather a difficulty regulating attention. Individuals with ADHD may struggle with sustained attention during repetitive or low stimulation tasks such as studying, administrative work, or maintaining routines. This occurs partly because tasks with delayed rewards often do not stimulate dopamine pathways strongly enough to maintain consistent attention and motivation. In contrast, highly stimulating, rewarding, urgent, or emotionally engaging activities can activate these reward systems much more effectively. This helps explain why many individuals with ADHD can experience periods of intense concentration known as hyperfocus. During hyperfocus, attention becomes extremely concentrated on a task that is perceived as highly rewarding or stimulating, such as gaming, music, creative activities, or personal interests. When compared to neurotypical individuals, attention in ADHD is often more consistent and more dependent on levels of stimulation, novelty, and immediate reward. Neurotypical attention is generally more stable during low stimulation tasks, whereas individuals with ADHD may experience greater distractibility, difficulty prioritizing information, impulsivity, and reduced sustained attention over time. These neurological differences can significantly affect daily functioning. Difficulties with sustained attention and focus may impact education, workplace performance, organization, routines, time management, and interpersonal relationships. Importantly, however, ADHD should not be viewed as laziness or a lack of intelligence. Research instead supports the idea that ADHD reflects differences in neurological systems responsible for executive functioning, reward processing, and attention regulation. How does ADHD affect attention and focus? Ultimately, ADHD affects attention and focus through differences in executive functioning systems, dopamine signaling, and prefrontal cortex activity. These mechanisms impair the brain's ability to consistently sustain attention, prioritize relevant information, and filter distractions, particularly during low stimulation or delayed reward tasks. However, because attention in ADHD is strongly influenced by reward and stimulation, individuals may also experience intense focus in highly engaging situations. Understanding ADHD as a neurological difference rather than a lack of effort can help reduce stigma and support more effective treatment and support strategies overall.